Okay, we're trying something a little different today. This isn't necessarily going to be the full big production video that I typically do. Mostly it's just going to be just talking about the opera from last week. Well, as a recording, I don't know when this is going out. Probably within the next week, hopefully. It'll definitely get out before La Traviata. So anyways, Medea, I guess that's how you say it in Italian, was just done on the Live in HD series. And wow, Sondra was just absolutely impressive. And I think I said in the short that everyone just kind of was forgettable. Not necessarily. The opera very much was written as a vehicle for the main star, which in this case was Sondra Radvanovsky, who did incredibly well. And as, I can't remember if it was the conductor, if it was Sir David McVicker, who said that really you need the right person to be Medea. And if you don't have that person, you really shouldn't do it. Well, they absolutely have the right person, or they tabbed the right person to play that role this time around. Okay, so let's go through notes I have here from last week. Janai Brugger was, what was her role? She was the princess in all this. I have no idea what to actually make of her name there. Anyways, Janai Brugger was the princess who was marrying Jason, who was played by Matthew Polenzani, who was really good himself. Janai was good, but sounded quiet. But I don't know if I can attribute that to just it not being the right role for her, and she couldn't quite get the volume that she needed. I don't know if it was necessarily something where the orchestra was too loud, or if the theater I was in just plain screwed up the balance again. Because this is not the first time. I'm pretty sure there were like 3 or 4 productions last year where just the bass was way too heavy, so you couldn't hear anything that was going on in the upper ranges. She wasn't really on screen for long. She was only in there for just most of the first act, a very small part at the very end of the second act, and then you see her essentially dying at the end of the third act, or middle of the third act, I guess. Matthew Polenzani was Jason, Jason from Jason and the Argonauts, as you probably know the story of him and the Argonauts going to try to find the Golden Fleece. As the story goes, Jason was to wed the princess of the land, King Creon's daughter, Medea. Was obviously against it because, she was already married to Jason and got her revenge. And you'll see what happens at the very end. Well, we'll talk about it at the very end. Anyways, Matthew, he was good. I don't think he puts on a bad performance in anything that he does. So this is just par for the course for him, which par for the course for him is still very good. Who was the king? He wasn't in there long. Apologize if I butcher this name. I'm pretty sure I am going to butcher this name. Michel Pertuzzi. Apologies. Just put it right there. I'd say he was probably the most forgettable out of all of them, but that's mostly because, again, how it was written. The princess and the king aren't really in there that much. They're in there mostly first act, and then they're pushed aside until the very end of the second act. And then they come back middle of the third act where they're dead. Katerina Gubanova was Medea's slave, Neris. She was good. Although, again, kind of overshadowed by Medea, of course, because, it's the vehicle for Medea. So with her scenes just all being with Sondra as Medea, it was just obvious she was going to get overshadowed. In fact, you could say that for pretty much everyone that was with Sondra on stage together. Like, even Matthew kind of gets... You kind of forget how good his role is with just how spectacular Sondra was. And that feels very much by design by both Luigi Cherubini and Sir David McVicker. And I guess now would be a good time to bring up Sondra. She was fantastic. Why has she only been in 5 live and HD productions? Let's see, there was Il Trovatore, Un ballo maschera, Norma, Medea, and Roberto Devereux. Why just those 5? Is it that they just kept choosing Anna Netrebko over her? In which case, you really shouldn't have constantly picked Anna over Sondra. Sondra is incredible. And quite frankly, needs to be in more, or needed to be in more. I guess the phrase for Sondra would be, leave him wanting more. Which I guess works better than the phrase that works with Anna.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Let's see, what else did I have in my notes? Oh yeah, the physical part of the performance. I loved it. It kind of made me want to see what Natalie would have done with something like this. Natalie to say. I mean, you look at something like her mad scene in Lucia di Lammermoor, and she does all this amazing work with almost nothing. And then you look and see what Sondra's doing with Medea, and I'm just thinking, what could Natalie have done with this? Like, I know there's people out there that don't like Natalie or don't like her voice. I think her voice is fine, but it's her acting that really gets over with me. And that's why I think the way I do. I know there were some people out there who didn't necessarily like the staging. I thought it was interesting. If you didn't see it, there's this big sort of metalish gate that goes out into the front stage, and then it opens up into this area where there's a giant mirror over top of it. And I think something like that it really makes the director think about spacing and how people are placed. Like, yeah, if you're in the back, you're gonna see where everyone is spaced already on the stage. But if you're watching it through the theater, you're only seeing what you're allowed to see through the camera. And with the mirror, you can actually see how things are going, how things are lining up down on the floor. One of my favorite parts of it was actually at the very end when Medea had just, I guess let's call it what it is, she killed her 2 kids with Jason. Or she killed the 2 kids she had with Jason. And she set a fire in that area, and I guess her moral switch turned on at that point. Like, it was going on and off during the 3rd act when she's like, I'm gonna kill them, and she's like, no, I can't kill them. I'm gonna kill them. No, I can't kill them. Well, she killed them, and she's like, oh God, what did I do? And then she goes and lays down with her kids as the fire envelops, and there's this cool image on the mirror because, they're just they're lying down on the floor, and you see it up on the mirror where the fire is going around them, and just in the circle you see the 2 kids and Medea in the middle of it, and the fire engulfs them, and Jason watches from the outside, just in horror of everything that had just gone on. Not just seeing his new wife and father-in-law get killed, but also seeing his old wife and his 2 sons killed and burned. So yeah, staging really worked for me. Thinking back, I don't think there's been a Sir David McVicker staging that I didn't really resonate well with. And I'm sure there's others where you're like, I didn't like this, I didn't like that. It's okay. It's art. Art doesn't always resonate with everyone. So yeah, great performance, highlighted by a spectacular tour de force performance by Sondra Radvanovsky, and everyone else around her was, I don't necessarily want to say they were lifting her up, because they were all doing their own things, and they're all doing very well in their own things. Very good supporting cast. I think that's probably the easiest way to say it without degrading anyone else. I recommend seeing it if you haven't already, or if, whenever it comes out to on demand. So yeah, that's about it. La Traviata's next week, and if you are excited for that, let me know. If you liked what you saw in the opera, let me know that as well. If you liked this video, like this format, let me know and I'll do more of that. And if you want to see more on this channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button below and hit the bell so you can be notified whenever new videos come out. I will see you next time. Take care.